All right, we are here live. Welcome, everyone. This is episode 13 already of our awesome podcast episode. Welcome, whether you are catching us live or here with us live or catching us on the replay. Welcome. My name is Eva Lee, and I am the host. I share with you all about different careers happening in our community. That's awesome. That's happening each and every day. And with me tonight, I have one of our community members here who's going to share about his career path, and which is Dr. David Thao, who is our first Hmong plastic surgeon. And so he's going to share a little bit more about his experience. And I'm so excited to share with you all today about his work. If folks don't know, Dr. David Thao is the first Hmong plastic surgeon in the world and is a board-certified plastic surgeon that has been in practice for the last 16 years. It's pretty amazing. He graduated from Brown University and the University of Minnesota Medical School. He completed his general surgery residency at St. John's Hospital and Medical Center in Detroit, Michigan. And then he completed his fellowship in plastic surgery at the SUMMA Health Systems in Akron, I think, Ohio. He's the founder and owner of the medical director of Woodbury Plastic Surgery in Woodbury, Minnesota. So with me tonight is Dr. David Thao. I'm really excited to have him here. If you have questions for him, feel free to pop them in chat. Let us know what some of your burning questions you're hoping to learn more about, or if you got questions for him in particular. And let me know, where are you tuning in from? What city and state? And if you're one of the regulars, I'll definitely say hi. Welcome, everyone. Okay, we're going to jump right into it. I'm bringing David in. Hello, Dr. Thao. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate that.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you so much for your time. I know you're like literally hopping off and on. It's a midweek. It's a Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I appreciate your time and energy and enthusiasm for this. So thank you so much. It means the world just to have you here for an hour with us to really share with us about your career path, your journey, and what it takes to be where you are at. So thank you so much. Without further ado, we're going to jump right in because there's a lot of questions. We probably don't get to every single question, but we're trying to get to most of the big questions. Okay. So tell us a little bit more. How did you become interested in this field? How did you know that you wanted to become a plastic surgeon from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you to Eva for having me on your show. I mean, it's such a wonderful opportunity, and I've watched your previous episodes, and it's so inspiring to kind of share different careers, listening to everyone's different experiences. And it's such a wonderful story to kind of share. That's one thing we lacked when I was growing up. We didn't have any role models or any podcasts like this. and just having this is so wonderful. So it was my honor to be here and to share my experience and my life journey with you and your show. And I hope that all the listeners out there enjoy our talk tonight. So thank you so much. So I really want to sincerely thank you for all that you're doing and all the good work, and it's truly inspirational to a lot of the young people out there. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. And again, it would have been half of it for people like you who volunteer their time. So it means the world. Thank you so much. All right. So again, shining as the light. Tell us a little bit. How did you become interested in this? I think most people grow up going to go become a doctor. How did you move from the doctor to the plastic surgeon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we came to this country early, so I was fortunate enough to start my education kind of young. So I started kindergarten.
Wow! What year would you say you came? So to give us a little backstory
here. Late 75 to early 76. So that's when I came in. I was 5 years old at that time, and so I have been fortunate enough that I started school early, and we were sort of the first generations to really kind of pursue that higher education. And my dad was really the inspiration behind all of that. He really believed in higher education. He said, son, as minorities in this country, if you have no education, you have no way to survive. But if you have an education, at least you have a fighting chance to survive. So he really pushed us. And I was the oldest of 8, 3 boys, 5 girls, typical Hmong family at that time, large family. And he really, sort of put the value on higher education and on hard work. And so that's how it all started, So I was always fortunate that for me, I went to private schools my whole life, So my parents worked really hard to put us to really good schools. to kind of show us the value of education. And so I was fortunate enough, and I always tell people I'm very lucky. I mean, I am where I am because of my parents' sacrifice for me. So that sort of kind of initiated the whole, you have to work hard, go to school to be something important. So that's the first step. You have to say, I want to go to school to be somebody. And that's how it all started. And then, and then you go to college, um, and you go to high school, and for me, when I was in high school already, I kind of knew I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't know that I was going to be a plastic surgeon, but I wanted to be a doctor of some sort. So that's how kind of it started. So in high school, I kind of knew that I wanted to do medicine.
So thank you for sharing that. I think it's really helpful. I don't think people knew, I would say you're probably one of the first groups at such a young age, at 5 already, come to the country and really obtaining a full-on K through 12, public education, and then transitioning to college. Now, walk us through. So you mentioned, in high school, that you wanted to become somewhere in medicine, right? You wanted to go into become a doctor. And I really appreciate your parents, for thinking of getting that education is the key, right? A fighting chance. I think that's so powerful. Now, walk us through a little bit more. Okay, you went to high school, you went to college. Now, tell me, what did you study in college then?
So just to kind of back up a little bit. So medicine is very, very difficult to get into. That's number one. So to really, so medicine, you kind of, I always feel like you can't be in college already and then say, okay, I want to go to medical school. Medical school is a long journey, and it's kind of like you have to finish A to go to B to go to C to go to D to go to E. So it's a transition. You have to complete each stage. So my kind of encouragement and experience with that is you kind of have to know early, and you have to kind of be on a track, right? So you have to know that, and one of the things that I learned is that you have to go to a good school. All right. So, and to go to a good school, you have to get good grades. And so that you have to work hard to get the good grades so you can get into the good school. When you get into college, a good college, you have to work hard to get the good grades so you can go to medical school. So it's kind of one thing after another. So that sort of journey brings you to different experiences. For example, I went to high school in Milwaukee and Marquette University High School. It's an all-boy Jesuit high school. It's kind of like a college prep Jesuit high school where, and that's where I went. And then after that, then I graduated. Then I went to Brown University. That was in Providence, Rhode Island. And then after that, then I went to medical school at the University of Minnesota for 4 years. And then I went to general surgery residency in Detroit, Michigan for 5 years. And then I went to general plastic surgery fellowship in Akron, Ohio for two more years. So all in all, I went to I went to 5 different states, right? And then
it sounds like you went all around there.
I always tell people from kindergarten to the day I graduated from my residency was 28 years
of schooling.
That's schooling.
Back-to-back schooling.
Exactly. So it's a long process. It's a long journey. So you kind of have to start. So I always tell people you have to start somewhere, okay? And that'll lead you to another place.
So then would you say that you didn't actually start surgery as a practitioner until probably in your late 20s then? Or early 30s then, right?
Yeah, later, so it took 28 years just to graduate. And so, right. And so for surgery like this, so what in residency is sort of like it's education and you're learning about surgery, but you're also practicing surgery. So when you graduate from medical school, you're a doctor, you're a MD, and you're certified, and that training just makes you specialized in that field. So I was a general surgeon specializing in general surgery, and then now I'm a plastic surgeon doing plastic surgery. So you're going to school and you're training, you're doing surgery at the same time. So it's kind of part of the whole training in one package.
That's really good, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'm wondering, and I think this might be for, how did you explain to your family, right, and your friends that you were making that distinct path is like, I'm not become just like your regular family practitioner doctor. I'm going to become a specialist. Did they understand what plastic surgery was at that time?
No, plastic surgery. Plastic surgery is very, very specialized. It's a subspecialty of a specialty. So I was a general surgeon. That's already a specialty, but I'm a plastic surgeon, which is another subspecialty of that. And now I'm a cosmetic plastic surgeon, which is a subspecialty of plastic surgery. So it gets more and more and more specialized. So basically, you're the expert of the world in this field, because everything is so focused. So in the beginning, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but for Hmong, at that time, there weren't many doctors. So I was lucky enough that my uncle was sort of like the second Hmong doctor in the United States. He's a family practice doctor, and so he sort of paved the path in medicine for me first. All right, and so I was lucky enough that I know what family practice for a doctor is like, but for me, I was good with my hands. So in medical school, you kind of have to decide what specialty you want to do. Medicine is there's so many specialties. You kind of have to, it's very confusing sometimes. So there's two fields. You do general medicine, or you do some kind of surgical field. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do some kind of surgical field. And I didn't want to do plastic surgery at that time, but I wanted to do something surgical, something with my hands. I was good at it. I wasn't interested in just talking to patients, writing prescriptions, things like that. I wanted to get down and dirty, you know what I mean? I wanted to just do something. And for me, my personality that's how I am. I wanted to for someone with diabetes, you kind of have to educate them. It takes a long process. But for me, someone who comes and there's like a mass in their face, boom, I cut it out, take it, I cure it, it's done. You know what I mean? So I like that impact. I like that sudden impact. I like doing the eyelid surgery, the tummy tuck, and right away you get instant results. So that's how I function. That's how I get a sense of high. And so that's how so I use that sort of personality to decide, okay, what is that I like? And surgery was something I like because I like the thrill of being in the operating room. The trauma in general surgery, we had in Detroit, there was tons of trauma, gunshot wounds, and they would come bleeding everywhere. You would just operate them, just like the movie, just the TV show ER, like that, just very fast paced. It was thrilling, it was exciting. And then same thing with plastic surgery. So that's what I like. I want to encourage people to go into something that you have a passion, you love, you could do. Like in the middle of the night, 3 a.m, something comes, you're up, you're like, your beeper goes on, you're out there doing surgery, and then you're wired, and so that's one you want to find that passion. And plastic surgery, that passion for me.
That's so good. I appreciate you sharing that, because so many times I've talked to many people, they say, oh, I want to become a doctor. I want to become a doctor. And I would ask the most basic, like, how are you with your hands? Like, for example, are you comfortable seeing blood? Are you comfortable, seeing someone who's ill, who's sick? Because think about it, who goes to the doctors often? No, most healthy people probably don't go to the doctors every day, right? So you're seeing sick people, you're seeing oftentimes people who are coming in with trauma, like you mentioned, right? And I think when you're explaining, it reminds me of folks who are like kinesthetic learners. They learn by their hands, they learn by movement. And to me, that really resonated really well with, some of those folks who I'm wondering if, when they're sitting there in the classroom, right, and they're sitting and they're learning, is that you kind of knew early on, like, you enjoyed learning with your hands, and that's one of the earliest pinpoints of like helping you identify careers that work with. There's lots of careers that work with hands, but I think plastic surgery or plastic surgeons or surgeons in general have to be really good with their hands, like really fine good.
Yeah, I never do the dishes,
Because you're afraid to get a cut.
Well, I can't do dishes. These hands, So I'm just kidding. I do dishes all the time,
Okay, I was gonna say, when does your wife take? Oh, are you gonna use that excuse for the rest of your life? I can't.
It only works for like a couple of days, and then work after that.
Okay, wonderful. I know we have.
On a serious note, though, I always tell people, you just find your passion in whatever you do, but you have to learn your strength and use your strength to find that something that you want in life. I tell the young folks, don't become a doctor just because all the mom and dads like, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer,
right?
So you do it not for the name, not for the fame, for the prestige, the money. Do it because you enjoy it. I do it because I enjoy helping people. I enjoy doing surgery and making a difference in their life, saving their lives, changing their lives. That's what you want, because that's stuff that never burns out, that you never burn out from, you never get tired of, but you'll get tired of other things, so just find that passion and do it because you enjoy it, and do it because you're good at it.
That's really good. I appreciate that. And find passion you're good at and you enjoy. Absolutely. We have questions coming in. I know folks are thinking of good questions, and we'll get to it, as I promise. So, for example, I know Chris asked really quick, Dr. Thao, if you can share with us, what type of, I don't think folks know, what kind of specialty do you actually specialize in? So, we hear plastic surgery, we see all those shows on TVs, right? A lot of doctors do a lot of things, and certain doctors only do one or two things.
Yeah.
Let us know, share with us, what type of specialty do you cover?
Right. So plastic surgery, just general education, plastic surgery, there's many fields in plastic surgery. So it's just like I was talking about in plastic surgery, there's many subspecialties even in plastic surgery. So plastic surgery in Greek, it means plastikos, means form and function. Okay. It's to mold. And plastic surgery is all about form and function. And what does that mean? Form means you kind of the anatomy, right? You have to know the anatomy, and you have to kind of restore it to kind of the whatever is sort of normal. And function is the same thing. You can't just have a face or a hand that is like this, but it's not even working. It's all misshapen and traumatized. And so our job as plastic surgeon is to restore that form, to restore the function. You make everything look better again. Not only that, you have to make everything work again. So there's many specialties in plastic surgery. One is reconstruction. So we do a lot of breast reconstruction, a lot of burn, a lot of wounds that we do flaps on, skin grafts, things like that. And then there's the craniofacial. So all the kids with the cleft lip and the palate, they have birth defects and things like that we fix, the skulls, the ears, all the congenital birth defects that we can improve upon. And then there's the hand surgery, where that's a subspecialty of plastic surgery. You guys may not know that, but people that have hand injuries, carpal tunnels, things like that, transplants, the first hand transplants, face transplants, those are all plastic surgeons. And then there's the field of aesthetic surgery, cosmetic surgery, and that's what I do. I do the cosmetic specialty of that, meaning we do eyelid surgery, breast augmentation, tummy tuck, all sorts of stuff, liposuction. And that's why I enjoy plastic surgery, because I could do all that. It's so diverse. I mean, initially I thought, so career paths, I thought, I want to be a doctor, but maybe I thought I wanted to be like, it's called the ophthalmology, like eye doctor, right? Or the ENT, the ear, nose, and throat doctor. But I thought or dermatology was the other field that I wanted to do. So I thought, I don't know, I'm not sure if I want to look at pimples or rashes all day. I'm not sure if I just want to be every day looking eyes, like 50 patients just looking in their eyes all day. For me, I would be bored. I like it when the patients come and today I had a patient who wanted to do their butt. Then I had a patient who wanted to do a scar. I had a patient who wanted to do their breast. So it's from head to toe. So it's never boring. It's always diverse. It always keeps the job interesting. So that's why I chose to do plastic surgery and cosmetic surgery.
Good. Thank you for breaking it down for us. I really appreciate that. I think that many people, when we hear surgery, plastic surgery, we're probably, because we get so bombarded by the media, right? And all the TV shows, they always do the cosmetic, but we don't really hear about the other ones, which is like reconstruction. Like, for example, people who've been traumatized, and I think this, and you probably hear it too, like, for example, folks who've been in a car accident, and maybe, something happened and they need to go back, or folks who come back from war, for example. So there's a lot of those type of surgeries that also exist out there. And I really appreciate you sharing about your experience and why you specialize in the cosmetic surgery area. So now going in a little bit more, I think Zoe asked a really great question. How did you build and maintain your support system as you went to those multiple schools, right? 5 different locations. What's happening? How did you maintain that energy and keep it going?
Yeah. So the number one key is you cannot be successful and be a plastic surgeon like myself if you don't have a good support system. You have to. I mean, nobody can do this alone. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to tell people is, we're from a Hmong community, and Hmong is all about like family. Okay, all about sharing and all about taking care of each other. So, like I said, I'm the oldest of 8 kids. For me, I couldn't fail. If I fail, then my younger brothers and sisters, they would be like, "Well, David failed. Why? What's the big deal?" So we had to succeed, right? We had to not fail for them, And so there was a sense of like, not a burden, but it was a responsibility that you have to do well, not only for your folks, but for your siblings. Not only for your siblings, but for me. I became a plastic surgeon because I'm the first Hmong plastic surgeon in the world. How special is that? How inspirational is that? And that you could touch so many people's lives in that aspect. So you have to have a good support system. So that's a great question. Everywhere you go, my parents always supported me. Like I told you, I couldn't be here because I always went to private schools. No public school ever. They paid for everything. It was nothing good is free. I went to Ivy League schools. I went to all that. Those are expensive. And so first thing you have to do is you have to invest. Don't be afraid of losing loans and all that. You have to invest in yourself. Invest in education. You have to go to the best place. If you want to be the best plastic surgeon, you have to go to the best places for the best teachers to train you. So you have to have a family that supports you. You have to have friends that support you. You have to have everyone support you because everyone's relying on you. And that makes it hard because you can't fail because they're all saying, "We're giving everything up for you. You better you better succeed, or else it would be disappointing." And so you don't want to disappoint people. And so you have to have, and that's why when you're done, that's when you complete it, and when you finish, you have to remember that. You have to look back. Like for me, I'm done, but I could just go live in some fancy place and like forget about everybody. That it can't be. You have to remember, hey, I didn't get here by myself. They helped me. My parents bought me my first car. I didn't get my first car to medical school, but despite that, they got it for me. I couldn't get it, I couldn't do this without my friends supporting me. My wife, supported me throughout the time we were dating. She dated me because she knew she was going to marry a plastic surgeon, but she dated me. but anyways, yeah. So you have to remember those people, okay? You have to remember that those people care about. So when you're done, you have to give back. That's why I'm giving back to the community. I'm giving back to the Hmong community, and doing different things, nonprofit organizations, helping them teach them about just not plastic surgery, but about medicine and healthcare in general, for our community to be safer and to have to learn about the illnesses and what kind of is hurting our community right now. So you give back. That's a very important point I want to bring across.
That's so good, and I appreciate that, and that's wonderful. Now comes to light. So we heard a little bit about your support system, all the way through, and that's really good. Now tell us a little bit more. Like, give us the more kind of like walkthrough of like your responsibility as a surgeon, right? Mm-hmm. When you take on a client, how do you manage your time, right? So, for example, perhaps a better question would be like, in a month or in a week, how many clients do you see? Right? And what are your main responsibilities as you work with these clients?
Mm-hmm. So let me make it broad. I like to answer that in a broad way. So number one, plastic surgery or surgery. So medicine's very, very difficult. Life. It's a long journey, it's a difficult life. 2, surgery is even worse. Plastic surgery are worse, meaning that we work very hard. For example, in residency, okay, in general surgery residency, back in the day, you work a lot, and I would work. For example, when I did transplant surgery rotation, that means you go and you do transplant, kidney transplant, pancreas transplant, things like that. And so during that rotation or that time when you did that for one whole week, I slept 7 hours.
No way. That's crazy.
Right? But that's the part of that's the lifestyle. Because you do surgery and then you're done, you do the pancreas transplant, then your beeper goes off. Somebody just died. You have to go harvest their organs, and you go, you do that a day. And then you bring it, and then you have to bring it back, transplant that, and then you have to watch them in the ICU to make sure they're doing well and monitor the vitals. And then while you're ready, another thing happens. And so it's on and on because sick people don't wait for you. Sick people don't appendicitis in the middle. They don't wait for you. You just have to be there. So the lifestyle is very, very challenging. It's very, very demanding. So you have to be ready for that. You have
on call. It sounds like
all the on call, all the workouts. So it's not easy. So that's number one. It's not an easy life. For right now, I get up at 5, in the morning. And then my surgery starts at like 6:30, 7, and then you do surgeries. So we have surgery days and non-surgery days and things like that. So when we do surgery days, sometimes you'll operate all day. Some of our cases will be very, very long. Sometimes when I did replants, free flaps, things like that, that means you have to take one limb and you have to cut it off, and you take that limb and you have to sew it to another area. You're transplanting vitals and organs and things like that, and you have to sew the vessels back together. Those cases take like 12, 14 hours. Long time.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole day long.
Whole day. You're standing up the whole time. Your feet's killing you. There's no bathroom breaks. Sometimes like I did when I do a transplant, sometimes you'd be so tired the nurses have to like put ice on you to wake you up and things like that. So it's very, very demanding life. So it's a training. So when you train for that, that's why the surgery residencies, like what I did, was 7 years long, and throughout training, you get stronger. It's like military. You get stronger, you build up for that when that time that you need it. And so it's not an easy lifestyle. So meaning my days are really long, and then, you come back at 7, 8 at night. And then sometimes you have to round in the hospitals to take care of patients. And then in the middle of the night, you get calls, dog bites, like you say, car accidents. I have to go and sew people up, fix them up. So it's a very challenging life. So but you kind of have to enjoy it. That's why I said if you don't enjoy it, you're gonna get burnt out.
Right, and that is that could be like I would imagine very exhausting, right? On call, it feels like it's nonstop and go. But how's it different now? How is that different now? Now that you have your own practice, you're on your what's it like? What do you give off? What do you get in control?
Exactly. So that was in like a big hospital setting. So right now, I am what we call solo private practice, meaning I own my own business. I am my own boss. I wanted to just be my own boss and make my own schedule. So there's advantage and disadvantage. Advantage is that you don't have to listen to people. You can kind of call your own shots, be as busy as you want or not as busy as you want, whatever you want. Okay, but the disadvantage is that you're doing it alone. In medicine, it helps to be in a group so you can cover each other. You can bounce ideas off each other, and you can ask for help. So when you're alone and you're a solo, it becomes difficult. Everything is on you. I remember the first case I did when I graduated and I came here, started my own practice right from the get-go. There's nobody, we call it attending. There's no teacher above you looking down and say, okay, let's see if you're doing it right. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm in this room by myself. The nurses are actually looking up to me, go, Dr. Thao, what is Thao? And so that's when all that experiences comes through and you do it. So it's kind of, busy and sometimes more busy, but because now I not only do I have to take care of patients, I have my own staff, right? I have to take care of the staff to make sure they're okay. That my nurses, my estheticians, my patient coordinator, my business manager, things like that. So you kind of learn different things as well.
Right, that's huge, and I appreciate that you're talking about that discipline, the stamina, right? To be a surgeon working a whole day could potentially be a 14-hour shift where you're just doing surgery, and the next day could be totally different. I would imagine, and that's where you get to, as a business owner, you get to choose, the days you do have your surgery days, the days you don't, where you kind of do like regular, more of operations. I would also imagine like probably consulting. Probably, when on the days you're not doing a lot of surgeries, I would imagine you probably do consulting as well. Where you get to kind of test, not test, but assess to see if this is going to be the right surgery for the right patients. And I know folks are coming with another question here as well, Miss. How do you balance your work and life? You know, you mentioned that you give back to the community, you help nonprofits. How do you add that into your busy schedule and still balance it all? How do you continue to learn and study the latest health updates? You know, given that we are in a pandemic as well, and you know, surgery and like the process, the new machines, the new things that's happening in medicine and health. How do you stay up to date with everything and that's moving?
Yeah, well, like any field, you have to have continual medical education. So you're always learning. Plastic surgery is probably one of the most innovative fields out there. There's new technique, new lasers. We have a bunch of lasers, you know, new skincare things. So learning is never ending. It's always continuous. If you don't learn and then you won't grow. Like there's some doctors who do the same thing for like ever. You're never gonna get better that way. You learn by listening to others and learning from others. Keep an open mind, and you go, oh, you know, I always did it this way, but oh my gosh, thanks for telling me that. That's like a game changer, you know. And then suddenly you do it, and your results get better. So you always have to learn. And if you stop learning, that's when you are gonna be a bad surgeon. Okay, because people will get better, you know, techniques get better, things get better. So you always have to be willing to learn. All right, you be willing to learn, and you have to be willing to learn and to apply it to yourself. You never stay the same. You're always evolving with the times. Okay, that'll keep you competitive, and that'll keep you sharp, and that'll keep, you know, your knowledge up to date. So that's very important. So you just have to kind of make time for yourself. You know, you're going to be busy. You can't. Number one is you have to take care of yourself. If I don't take care of myself and I get injured or something like that, my staff will have no work, right? My patients won't have where to go. Right now, I'm booked for 3 to 5 months out.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so if I hurt myself, those 3 months of patients who are waiting for surgery, they're going to be pretty upset because they're waiting for surgery that's going to change their lives. Not only that, they change their schedule, vacation time, things like that, just to fit my schedule too. And so you let everybody down. So you have to kind of balance yourself by taking care of yourself. You know, health, you have to stay healthy. You got to eat right. You got to work out. And then not only that, you have to spend time with your family. That's, like I told you, that is the most important. You do all this for yourself, it makes no sense. Like, you could have the most successful practice, you know, tons of patients and things like that, but it won't make a difference if there's nothing to share, no one to share with, right? You guys share. I share with my wife, you know, the kids. You know, you have to spend time with your family and your friends, and then you have to give back to the community. So whatever it is, you have to make time. You have to make time. You can't be selfish. You can't think of yourself all the time, because now is the time to kind of think about others as well.
It's really good. I appreciate that. I think that's really good about, like, you know, like you'll do a lot of amazing things. There's always things to do, right? And one of the things you have to commit to is that balance of family, of understanding, like, again, how do you manage your time in the day and how do you manage your time in the evening, your weekends? And going back, I think that goes back to what we were saying, you described was discipline, right? That you have to really discipline yourself to be able to commit to learn and be able to invest in yourself. So for example, you know, when you mentioned about like learning more, would that be like through like, you know, for example, taking on more training, attending conferences, you know, those type of things? Would those be good examples where you continue to learn without having to go to you're not trying to get a new degree or trying to go to more schooling, but those are like other subset areas where you can really learn more, like about the latest technology, the latest techniques, and you can also convene with other folks who are doing similar work. Because I imagine, like, if you're on your private practice, you are your own coworker. There's no other coworker that can step up and cover your shift for you, right? You, like, if you are sick, that's it. There's no other person that's going to step in and say, I'll cover your surgery today.
Yeah, right. That's right. So you really have to, I mean, with anything else, you have to know your limits. You know, you can't say, I can't work all day, you know, because then you're not giving your best to your patient, right? So then, because every patient, I mean, even I've been in practice for 16 years. I've seen 18,000 patients, and yet tomorrow I have a surgery, a breast reduction surgery. It's like 4 hours long, and yet tonight I'm still thinking about her, right? I'm still thinking, how should I approach her surgery? What should I do differently for her? Well, how can I make her look the best possible? So that's how you have to approach life. You have to approach it with the details. You have to approach it with a scope that you care, right? You have to say, her life depends on me, and I can't take it for granted. That's how special it is. Before she goes, she's like, Dr. Thao, make sure I wake up, please. I have a family. You're gonna take good care of me, right? I'm like, I will. I promise. I'll take the best care of you. So don't worry. Thank you for trusting me. And so, like, before I go to bed, I think about her and her surgery and what I can do to make sure she's safe, make sure she's everything goes well, make sure her result is the best, because I'm proud of what I do. I want to be the best. I'm not the best Hmong surgeon, I'm the best plastic surgeon, and that's what I want to do. And that's how you have to look at it. Whatever you do, with a teacher, lawyer, doctor, anything in life, whatever field you go to, you want to be the best. And to be the best, you have to kind of take it seriously, and you have to do your best at it and never give up, and you have to think about the outcomes. The outcome is the end of all of this. So I can do all this, but then my results are poor. She has a terrible result. They look ugly. That doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help my practice, because you're gonna go out there and be like, oh yeah, this is terrible. And so you don't want that. You want to say, Dr. Thao is my surgeon. He's the best. Go to him. And that's how you build a practice. And that's how you build a career.
That's really good. I like that. I appreciate that, because I think that what you talked about right there was, that relationship where you build a rapport with your clients and walking them through that. I think that's so important, to have a doctor who's going to really honor that and care for you and walk you through. I think we've all heard, some horror, in the media, horror stories where like people go in and unfortunately they don't come out the same way, right? And that's so scary. I think that really impedes on people's ability to trust, right? A lot of doctors out there in medicine right now, even with the COVID vaccine, right, that's going on. So tell us a little bit more. I think I want to know a little bit more about, like, for example, you mentioned earlier, you're booked up 3-4 months out now. Prior to COVID, was that the case? Or do you see this, like, it's still the same? Or you're like, no, it has increased it significantly because people are back home now? Or how has it affected your practice?
Right. So I've always been fortunate that I've always been busy, because I think I'm a good surgeon. So, and I'm a nice guy. And so, so you got to be nice. That's the other thing.
Customer service. Yeah.
Yeah, it's customer service. And if you don't listen to people, you don't listen to them, you're not going to hear what they're saying, because a patient will come and I will look at them and I know what they need, but that's not what they want. You know what I mean? Patients, I know you're looking at my tummy. It's really bad. I had kids, twins, or whatever, but all I want is this little mole here, right here. and then you go, oh, okay, yeah, sure. If that's what's important to you, that's what you listen for, and that's what you care for, and that's what you focus on. So listening is really important. You just have to kind of everyone's different. All the customers are different. So we don't call them customers, we call patients are different. So you kind of have to know that. So pre-COVID, all my patients would come in person. It's all in-person consultation. They see you examine them, things like that. But ever since, I live in Minnesota, and because of COVID, all elective surgeries were canceled. We could not do any surgery for 2 months because we were short of PPEs, protective equipment, masks, and things like that, because they didn't want us to use that, because they wanted to save those for the hospital for taking care of the COVID patients. So anything elective, plastic surgery is basically almost 100% elective surgery, meaning that means that it's not life or death. You can just wait. It's not cancer, it's not bleeding, it's not gallbladder where you appendicitis, you got an emergency surgery. It's not emergent. So the state said no elective surgery. So I was unemployed for 2 months,
Right. imagine hearing that in the 21st century. The doctors are plastic surgeons are unemployed, right?
I had to hang out with my kids, and and learn how to comb her hair and stuff like that. And so
Dad duties.
Your dad duties, exactly. Work with my basketball and golf and things like that. But anyway, so I was unemployed for 2 months, and so that's when you figure, oh my gosh, I'm unemployed. But if I'm unemployed, my staff is unemployed because I have 5 staff that I employ full time. And that means they don't have a job. So it's stressful time. Everybody knows that during that time because people are getting laid off and work like that. So I was afraid. I was like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to be? So I couldn't do surgery for 2 months. I was just home doing yard work. Mm-hmm. And so basically after everything kind of settled down a little bit, we were able to go back to surgery. But we were kind of limited, and like you can't do long surgeries. You got to be careful. You don't want people to have any emergencies, because then you have to go to the hospital. All the hospitals have all the COVID patients, so things kind of change a little bit because you're a little bit more careful of the surgeries, and you learn to pick the surgeries that are not so not so dangerous in a way. And then our office and our practice totally changed. Then that's when we did virtual consultation. Meaning all the patients don't even come into the office anymore because, for safety reasons, right? We don't want to be exposed to COVID. So we did everything virtual consultations, like Zoom, so patients would just call and say, hey, and that was amazing. It was a game changer. It was like when they come to the office, you can only schedule so many patients because you have to consider rooming them, and they change, then they talk to you, then they get dressed again, and they go to another room, then you got to talk to them again, and that whole process takes a long time. But we found out that virtual consultation was so efficient. They come in and you can see like twice as many patients because they come ready to go, and there's no moving around. It's right. You log in, log out, and so so the flow was still there. But we thought, like, wow, this is great. You don't have to. Your practice doesn't have to suffer. So another learning point is you have to adapt. Yep. You have to adapt, and you have to change. Some of my older doctor friends are like, oh, no way, I don't like computers, technology. I'm not doing that. You can't. You have to change with the times. And so we did. I love computer. I love technology. So we, and you do it. And so then, but the interesting thing is you do it, and you're like, wow, this made my practice even better. We're even more efficient. We're even more successful, mm-hmm. and our patients are like doubling. And so because it's easy to reach out. And what my practice is, I have patients from all over the state. People come from all over. So we're like a destination specialty surgery. People come to me searching for me. They want me only. And so they would come from different states just to do surgery for me. But so it made it easier for those people to see me virtually. They wouldn't have to
without traveling, airplane, hotel.
Before they would have to travel and fly here just to meet me. But now it's so easy. I meet people from all over the state just for surgery, and then when we decide on surgery, then they'll come to meet me for the surgery. So it made practice much more enjoyable, and then I could reach out to even more patients.
Really, that's really good. Now, we did have a question from Chris. She did mention, what's your professional opinion for over the muscle or under the muscle and breast augmentation?
Yeah, well, that's a very specific question, but over the muscle, under the muscle is the most common approach because you have more breast tissue and muscle to kind of camouflage over the implant. That way you don't see the rippling of the implant, the implant itself. It's a little bit more natural. So that's the more common approach, but both ways are possible.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, give us some idea. For example, have you ever come across a situation where all of a sudden, like, you disagree with your patients about what they want?
Yeah, that happens.
As a doctor in your profession, in terms of ethics, do you ever just agree with them because they want all of the services, right? Or you're like, let's tone it down. let's take a step back.
One of the hardest things as a surgeon is you have to learn to say no. You have to say, they'll say, Doc, I'm gonna give you $10,000 to do this, and you have to say no. That is not what you need, and that's not going to help you. That's not going to make you happier. That's not what you do. So we're not in the business of say, yes, give me the money, I'll do it no matter what. That's not a good doctor. Okay, so a doctor that does that, that means they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about the Benjamins. You can't think like that, because one of these days it's going to come to haunt you. You have to learn to read the patient. So plastic surgery is not all about just that too, but it's about psychology. You have to look at the patient and go, why are you doing this? You know, for example, we have a lot of the patients. I do a lot of, we call it vaginal rejuvenation. You know, and it's for like labiaplasty, and you know, patients will come say, I don't like it because, you know, I don't like that my labia, it doesn't look right, and someone made fun of it, you know, and then you have to say, okay, well, do you want to do it, or are you doing it just because they made fun of it and you just want to please them and make them happy? You shouldn't care what they think. You do it because you want. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. So you have to learn that. To each patient, you have to learn to read them and say, you know, this patient is probably not psychologically or mentally, emotionally ready for this surgery. Because there's a lot of, you know, unhappy patients. They have body image, you know, illnesses, and they would never be happy. You have to learn to capture that from the get-go and say, you know, I'm sorry, but you may not be a good candidate, or I don't know if this is going to help you. So you have to learn to say no. So you have to learn to do the right thing as a doctor. Yeah, so and that comes with, you know, listening. If you listen and you pay attention, and you pick up on those details.
And that's really good. You know, that's, again, good work ethics there in your profession is really identifying, you know, being able to confront them and let them know, like, you know, that's not, in my professional opinion, you wouldn't need it, right? Or, you know, so I think that's really helpful is seeing that doctors are not just there, and surgeons, you know, you're not just there to operate and take their money, right? You're there really out for the best interest of their well-being and being able to assess their mental health and their psychological motives, right? Why are they really aiming to do this? What are they hoping to accomplish, right? And with your help, will they still be happy and satisfied, right? So that's wonderful. And I know we're coming down to our time. Oh my gosh, time goes by so fast. I hate this moment when time goes by so fast. We probably didn't even get to all my questions, but okay. So we talked about your passion, your drive, the education training, and, you know, sort of that approach when working with clients in the pandemic, right? We examined some of those things now, and with the efficiency of virtual, you know, consultations now, it has definitely helped support yours. And also you know, going reality-wise and letting us know, like, yeah, you were impacted by COVID too. And being unemployed for 2 months, it's not just you, but it's your whole team that's being impacted. And that's huge for any business owner as well. Now, I'm wondering, you mentioned about the things you're passionate. What is the one thing you're like that drives you nuts? That's sort of like you like not this one. That you like least about your work. You're just like, oh man, this is the one part of work that drives me. It's sort of like the last thing I want to do, but I'll do it anyways.
Well, the least thing I like about my work is because I'm a perfectionist, and sometimes there's always risk in surgery. There's always a risk of, you know, bleeding, complications, right? And I hate complications. You know, nobody likes it, because I already told you, even before I do the surgery, I'm like up in the middle of the night thinking about the patient, like, what can I do to make sure everything's okay? And then you do all that perfectly, and then there's still a complication, right? And you're like, oh, you know, and then you think about in your mind replaying, okay, what could I have done this different technique? Could I have done that? And so, and because when that happens, then, you know, you have to kind of find a solution, and you have to kind of get together with the patient and say, okay, you know, I know your incision broke open a little bit, but this is what we need to do. Come up with a game plan, and you have to be patient. You have to trust in time and Mother Nature healing. It's not magic. People do surgery, and then the next day, patients call you, I have a scar. I'm like, yes, we did this surgery yesterday, you know, and then you have to kind of, that's the most difficult part is getting patients to kind of understand that, you know, healing takes time. There's sometimes there's a little hiccup here and there, but everything will get better, because, you know, it's traumatizing, right? They have this, and then suddenly something happens, and, you know, you kind of have to hold their hand and walk through it. So that's what I hate least about it. Because you're doing it for them to feel better, but then yet something happens, and then you kind of have to just take your time. But that's in life. So that's what the point of that is. Don't let failure stop you. Just because I've seen 18,000 patients, but so the number is you do 18,000 patients and you got 2 bleeders, like something bled,
Mm-hmm.
So don't let those one that had a little bleeder stop you from like, I'm gonna quit. I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
eyelid
that's really
surgery anymore.
good that
Yeah,
you share that.
yeah, you can't quit. That's what you learn. You go, okay, what can I do to be better? And that's what, and I'm going to face it. I'm going to learn from it. Next thing you do, I'm going to be better at it. So don't let it get you down, and don't let it stop you. So even though that's the least thing I hate about because you care so much, you want everything to be so perfect. And as human nature, we're all humans. Sometimes if the doctor tells you they have 0 complications, they either are lying or they have never done enough. They probably did 1 surgery and they're like, yep, there are any complications. But after you do, trust me, after you do 1,000 of them, you're probably going to have at least 1 of something go on. So, but my point is, don't be afraid of failure. Even if you fail, you got to learn from it. You got to get better, and you got to do it. And that's how you elevate your game.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think that what you highlight was like problem solving constantly. So regardless if you planned it everything perfectly from start to finish, right? Challenges will come. You have to be on your, like you're saying, your game, your A game, and be ready to problem solve.
Yeah.
Right as you're talking, right as you're wrapping up, and you're like, okay, plan A, plan B, right, constantly.
Exactly.
So problem solving skills is something that's very crucial in this career. And like you're saying, don't be afraid of failure. Don't let this once, I think that's the other piece, is that people don't realize everyone heals differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, you can go to the same surgery, both bleed out, and one will heal differently from the other.
Exactly.
And so it's recognizing that, as managing those patient expectations.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. I know we're wrapping up at the end here. So much good stuff here, learning from you. We did have, I think maybe Gal mentioned, hi, Dr. Thao, are you open to having medical students shadow you? Have you had interns in your office before, or have folks come by and shadow, what's a life like in your office?
Yeah, well, I do. I do. So I used to, I used to teach the residents. I have sewing classes to show them. We have medical students and residents come, and they kind of, they don't really shadow, but they watch the surgeries and things like that. So yeah, we do have that available. I try not to. So I have a lot of like high school kids and grade school, middle school. They want us. What we do is a little bit more advanced. We don't want just people coming in there and just watching surgery. So you kind of have to have credential, qualify first just to even watch us. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because it's very specialized, and so you kind of have to be in a special place already, meaning you're a medical student or a resident kind of in that place. So you can kind of, you make sure you kind of know what's going on, So because
much further along.
Yeah, much further along, because it's a little bit more complex, and it's not at that stage for someone to just come in like 8th grade to follow you around, So.
Yeah, and plus some folks might just faint on the moment right there when they see blood. So and we want to make sure it's manageable. That's really good. And I know that, I want to honor your time and thank you so much. There's just been such good conversations about your career path, your journey, and also about, what it takes to become a plastic surgeon and doing cosmetic surgery. I really appreciate that. I know that folks really enjoyed it as well. Dr. Thao, how would if people want to learn more about your services and the work you're doing, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can always, I'm very involved right now. Right now, I'm the chair of the Hmong Medical Association, and that's an association that consists of Hmong physicians, MDs, NDOs, and our goal is to, like what the medical students said, to provide opportunities for medical students, scholarships for them, education for them. And we do like medical missions where we were planning to go to Chiang Mai, Thailand, 2020 for a medical mission there, the first Hmong medical mission in the world, to go, and I do surgery for the people in Thailand, up in the mountains, all for free, and our host, so we're giving back, so that's why we want to encourage all the young people to kind of do that. So you can always reach out to us in Hmong Medical Association. You can always reach out to me in my private practice called Woodbury Plastic Surgery. You can Facebook me, so there's many avenues to get a hold of me.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. David Thao, for joining me tonight and sharing about your career path and your journey. It's just been a pleasure. And again, wishing you well, wishing your family well, and hopefully after the pandemic, you're able to travel and do all of those amazing things. I'm looking forward to hearing all of the amazing things up ahead.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Eva. It was so fun to come and share the story. And I love talking about you can tell I'm really
I know, I was like, we got
really passionate about what I do, and that's what I want people to be passionate at your job. I could talk about this all day long, and so I would love to. We can do another session some other time as well. So thank you so much, Eva, for having me. I really appreciate the time that you've spent on this, and keep doing a great job.
Thank you so much. As always, take care. All right, folks, we just heard from Dr. David Thao, who just shared his wonderful journey about, becoming a plastic surgeon from start to finish with us, walking us through, the challenges, the career path, the discipline, the stamina. So hopefully you've all enjoyed it. If you're interested in learning more, check his work out at Woodbury Plastic Surgery. Just Google it up. It's in Minnesota. And hopefully you get in touch with him for more details about his services. If you're still interested, folks, we have one more episode. Not next week, but the following week with Lori Lee, who's going to share about her experience as being an author as well. So come tune into our last episode of the season. We'll be sharing about her experience and what it takes to become, an author, a writer. So thank you all so much. And if you find tonight's episode helpful, feel free to put it in chat. Let us know what was the takeaway? What did you learn? And of course, folks, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, whichever platform you're on tonight, and come hang out with us. There's a lot of good videos and workshops on, resumes, cover letters on the YouTube channel playlist. So check that out. But besides that, I'll catch you all next time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And y'all have a good one. Bye, everyone. Happy Wednesday.